I'm just a grown ass dude trying to hang out with my daughter and not have an asthma attack. So this
Right.
is the only way I know how to do it is to drive
Yeah.
across country for a stupid motorcycle. Hi, and welcome back to the Hole in the Head Moto Storytime podcast. I'm Andy, and this episode marks the final installment of my conversations with one of my closest friends and motorcycle accomplices, Blaine Dehmlow. And as this recurring chat about motorcycles produced an unexpected Moto Morini, well, why wouldn't the conversation about its delivery produce an unexpected road trip? We began these recordings in April of 2020, during one of the weirdest times in any of our lives. I had already spent a year before this point underemployed, pouring all my time and energy into trying to land another job in an industry I didn't really care about, but paid well and had a modicum of perceived prestige. And the time of this recording, in early June, was one of the lowest for me during the pandemic. After more interviews than I can remember and a handful of dream jobs just going away for one reason or another, I was diagnosed with adult onset asthma and eventually developed an accompanying anxiety disorder. Seriously? What I thought was a mix of charming irritability, faith, and stoicism just to get through the day was actually trying to take me out, and it was mostly self-imposed. Now, I realize this hasn't come up in a major way in our recording so far, and I hope it's not too heavy for a motorcycle podcast, but in this particular week, it all seemed to come together and felt pretty damn acute. Anyway, we started these sessions as a way to bullshit about motorcycles and make fun of BMW guys, but in the end I was reminded how important and cathartic it is to jump into discomfort and persist your way through it, whether that's figuring out how an ignition system works, or taking action on a personal passion and seeing what comes of it. I can almost hear my wife's eyes rolling now, but I've put a lot of value in the relationships and life lessons that have manifested from chasing random classified ads. It's a process of being willing, learning new things, and trusting your hunches. And that's sort of how these conversations become adventures, by taking a chance, calculated or not, and opening up to the possibility of things being amazing, if not lucrative. Because if nothing happens, nothing happens. Which brings us to this season's penultimate episode. After a fantastic 2-week round of interviews for a job that felt like a perfect fit at a company that I already had a history with, I got another rejection. And in the back of my mind, I think I assumed I knew how the story was going to turn out. Like, that I was going to get this job, making a certain amount of money, and everything would fall neatly into place. More importantly, it would give the previous 18 months some context, like, oh, that's why I didn't get those other jobs, because this is the job I'm supposed to have. What a tidy little journey that would have been. And the trip that I was planning with Blaine was just going to be a fun little hurrah before I got back to the serious business of being a responsible father, husband, and employee. But as I've said, the only thing that changes is everything. So our irreverent jaunt to find the best pie in Utah suddenly seemed absurd, but not in a good way. The only thing that sounded sane was spending time with my daughter and putting some action behind some things that I'd been wishing I had more time for. Relaunching a podcast, fixing a house we inherited, and of course, going on a ride with my friend Blaine. Sometimes the only thing I can change is my perspective, and I could either view this as a professional and physical failure, or take the opportunity to focus on what was right in front of me. I had to ask myself, at some point in the future, when I inevitably look back at this moment, would I be more proud of continuing to beat myself up, or loading the truck and taking my daughter on an adventure to Grandma's house? Guess which one I chose. So here it is, episode 8. I hope you enjoy it. I'm pretty open to the whim of the universe, or like what's the next right thing, or like, hey, everything you thought you knew is going to be different. That's okay.
Okay.
I'm flexible, like
Yeah.
only thing that changes is everything. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so, and now there's been 3 or 4 things that have come up that were like, oh, okay, if this thing happens in terms of jobs, if this job happens, then it all makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
either it's
Right.
either right in line with an interest, or like I had not
Yep.
even considered that before. I am really good at that. Whatever. It's been like a
Right.
perfect dovetail into everything. And each one of those things have just fucked right off suddenly for some reason. Just
Why do you
completely
think that?
evaporated.
Yep. If this were me telling the story, what would you advise me to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Take a hint and do that
Well,
thing you
and
wanted to do.
okay.
Yeah. So what and maybe this is it where, okay, here's the fourth thing that's just kind of evaporated. Well, there's not much that I can imagine that I am more cut out for than these 3 or 4 things. Like I have a pretty particular niched skill set, interest, patience level, what I mean,
Right.
enthusiasm level for whatever. But when those things come up, I'm all in. And there's
Yeah.
only a few things that's relevant to, and I've interviewed and been in really like touching distance of at least 4 of them, and they've all
Yes.
fucked off. And so now where I'm at is like, you know what, there's not, I don't know what else is out there that is more appropriate.
Well, I do.
Well, so if
Right.
that's the case, that's like the lifelines. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
4 suggestions that are like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. And so
Maybe could you consider this, Andy? Is it possible that you're too special to waste in a corporate rat fuck?
no, that's not.
No.
I know that's not. I'm not fucking special.
You might be.
But
I'm telling you, you might be.
Yeah, it's
And I would like
lowercase s, special. Yes.
you might need to be open to that.
Okay, maybe. Hey, maybe everything
Right?
would change. Yeah. So where I'm landing is like, fuck it. Like I'm out, and I'm throwing into this, because this thing is turning into a 6 to 7 part arced story.
Right.
A tidy little thing.
Well,
Um,
have you noticed that the story just keeps building on its own?
oh yeah,
I
we're
mean,
not done.
I know, but we haven't tried to. We just we sat down and wrote out a season, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this is where we're going to go this season. We don't know where it's going to go, but so far, we found the unfindable, and now you're about to do the undoable, which is make yourself happy. I mean,
I'm sure
come on.
Trying. Well, so that's the conversation I gotta have.
It's on
with
the
my wife.
doorstep.
Yeah, so I gotta have that conversation with my wife later. But
You let me. I want you to finish your thought, and then you tell me when you're ready, because I'm going to tell you what I say about you behind your back to my wife.
okay.
Okay, but you finish your bit.
So yesterday, I'm just like I'm not done. I'm not out. Like it's not dire. That it's more frustrating than anything, because
Yeah.
I know everything is going to be fine. Like
Right.
things fall into place. We have a little bit of I have a little bit of savings, and it's like, okay, worst cases I could sell vehicle, but it's not like we're not bankrupt. We're not
Right.
food stamping it, thank God. But it's
Not yet.
frustrating. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just fucking frustrating. Like, okay,
Yeah.
what? And so where I came was like, I can either stay here. We'll just take the last, pre-pandemic 4 months. We'll say the last 4 months before the pandemic. I spent a lot of time sitting in front of my computer 5 to 6 hours a day, resume, emails, flirting with people to get a meeting, just the bullshit run around, only to get eventual rejections, or no, here's another trail of breadcrumbs to the thing that you could give a shit about. Okay. And so I can either do that, or I can, alternatively, what I've decided to do is I'm taking off. Like I'm taking a sabbatical. So Dylan and I are gonna load up. I'm getting
and run away from your problems.
We're running away from our problems. I'm loading up a truck. I'm renting a trailer. I'm to the point of I own a trailer, but I'm just going to rent another one because it's not convenient to get.
Yeah.
So I'm
Life is
renting a
too
trailer.
short.
Life's too short. So I'm renting a trailer. I'm going to
Right.
load it with as many motorcycles as I can,
There you go.
including one of yours.
Thank you.
And I'm going to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then along the way, I can either meet you, or you come to Oklahoma, or I can have my mom watch Dylan. We can come, meet somewhere. But the point is like, that's not going to happen until you leave.
Right.
Until I leave. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So this is the only thing that I can exercise the control over. Like, it's kind of an oxymoron, because I'm not going to I don't know what's going to happen whenever I load this trailer and leave, but it's really the only thing that I can set in motion.
I know what's going to happen.
That I know that something will happen. So
do you want me to tell you what's going to happen?
Yeah. What's going on?
Somewhere about 2 days into it.
Yeah.
You're going to be driving and you're going to realize, my God, I feel free.
Yeah.
And then after another 2 days, it's going to scare the hell out of you and go, I need to chain myself back up to a company. What the fuck am I doing?
Hey, I haven't been chained to a company in 2 years, and it's been great.
I know, but
I just want some consistency.
No, I'm not saying that, but that's just the arc of what happens. It's like, I want to get out. I so desperately want to get out. And then when you get out and you think, oh man, I had better cover my nut somewhere. I got a little girl.
Yeah.
I got things to do. I can't go gallivanting off to join the circus, for crying out loud. I'm a grown man. And so, man. But I think that needle's going to go from, I'm free, this is wonderful, to, oh my God, I'm completely lost.
Yeah.
I better go back to what I know.
Well, so that said, I'm not like, this isn't a runaway and, go hide out type of thing. I'm, the idea.
That's the choice. If you run away, you'll just be downtime and money when you're done.
Yeah.
But if you're running to something, hopefully it'll be something that will.
Yeah. Well, and
push you, bring you closer to what you want to be and what you want to do.
And so what the plan is just take off for a week or so. I don't know when I'm going to come back. I got to have this conversation with my wife. We've already established that, I'm going to go. She has a certain amount of trepidation and hesitancy. One, because, we're going to be gone for probably 2 weeks. Right. Yeah. So that sucks. And I wish she could come, but she's working. Right. Yeah. So that's its own thing. And there's arguably not much to do in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, which is exactly why I want to go.
Yes.
Because the things that I'm going to get done are clearing a back acre of woods.
There you go.
Getting all the snakes out.
How honest is that?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm going to order a truck of about 4 tons of dirt.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fill in a swimming pool after I bust it up with a sledgehammer.
There you go.
I can't wait. Do you know what I mean? Because I know that I can do those things and I'll have a result to point to at the end of it and be like, I fucked that up.
That is so unlike preparing a slide deck.
Yes. Well, and it's just, and it needs to be done. But point being is, like, instead of sitting here, pandemic, civil unrest, uprising all around us, I don't feel good. I physically can't I mean, that's a terrible thing to say at this moment. Unfortunate correlation to make, but I can't breathe because I have anxiety of sitting in this fucking desk all day. I have an inhaler now. I'm 40 fucking years old and I have an inhaler suddenly. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm choosing to not participate in this at the moment. Like, just, while I have a little bit of money tucked away, and while I have an opportunity to do this project that may pick up later, I'm going to go do something productive, and that is go help my family do a thing.
There you go.
Go be in sunshine for a little bit. It's 95 degrees right now.
Yeah.
Where I'm going. And it's been 50 degrees and overcast as hell for the last month here, right? Anyway.
Well, anyway, so I'm going to tell everybody what I said about behind your back yesterday.
Yeah, what's your
That's what I said about you to my wife. I said, okay, hey, Andy's on the hook for this good gig at this unnamed company that he has some experience with. And I said, what's at war here are not only what you, Andy, really want to do, then you're also tasked with what you need to do, which is the reality of, bringing in income for your daughter and for your wife and paying your rent. And, and there's this pathway that says, I should probably get that gig and do that. And behind your back, I said, in reality, Andy has a lot better chance spending the same effort getting Netflix to pick up his podcast. It's the same chance. It's the same odds.
Sadly enough, it
is. So, and the thing is, if you decided to produce this indefinitely and could make it work financially, it would be more service to America and it would be more service to you and your family. But I understand it because I'm post-career. You're in the middle of it. You know, I don't have a career I have to manage anymore. And besides, mine was an awesome failure. So, I mean, you take that into account.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah. But just in terms, if the rules were different, you know, of the expectations that your wife has from you, that the expectations that your family and that your daughter and that society says, hey, Andy, high-tech professional, you know, needs to make $150 a year in a gig, you know, and, you know, needs to live, you know, in a notable zip code and, you know, all this kind of stuff that would kind of fit. It doesn't fit you perfectly, but it sort of fits that category of guys that you're up against in jobs, right? So all the guys that are looking for that job are kind of in this category, right? And you're one of them in there. And I told my wife, I said, I hope he lands it if he wants it. But if he lands it, I know what'll happen is that, what has to happen is that will take the first place, right? That's your new gig. You got to pour yourself into it. And so then podcasting is way down the line all of a sudden in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
This story is back burner, you know, and
it's true. I mean,
it is. And no, listen,
I don't want it to be. I think it would be. I think
no,
right.
It's an absolute reality. That's just, and the same thing would happen to me. I've all of a sudden said, Andy, you know, I got a call from a guy and I'm going to get involved in a business thing. And, you know, I'm going to do this other thing. So what's funny is that we both know that this is fun for us. I think it will be fun for America. It'll be funner for America to have this, because whatever I do for business is simply going to result in a that's one small little drip in a pond. It doesn't make much of a ripple.
Yeah.
Because it just affects me. And if you land in corporate land, it's really just going to affect you, you know, and a small amount of people. What I'm telling you is that not only are you special, you're awfully damn selfish.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
You got to think more of America.
Just not in the ways I assumed I was selfish.
You've got to think. You've got to expect to give more to America than you're giving her.
Yeah.
All right. You got to get out on the road. You got to tell the hole in the head story. You know, you got to help me establish the Greece Cathedral.
Yeah.
We got things we have to do that America needs.
America
doesn't.
That.
Does America really need one more well-paid middle management slide-making fuck in a corporation? Yeah. How does that move the needle, Andy?
The move in the needle. What's the ROI on that?
Well, for you, it's probably enough to, you know, choke down, you know, 10 more years of some bagels.
Well, no, it's fun. It's,
you know, and
it's well, yes, and all that. I appreciate that, by the way. Thank you very much for talking about that to your wife. But it's you know, where we're at is putting money where mouth is, right? I mean, all of this and the fear and the, you know, get out there and try it, all that stuff that sort of or very much dovetails into, you know, the micro that we're talking about of taking a motorcycle across the country, whatever, like right. Apples to pears, right? Like they're kind of the same. So if it's item 7 on my daily thing, you know, maybe not, it's not going to work. Right. So that's where I've landed right now is, you know, because I don't have anything else cooking in terms of, you know, those manager jobs this week. Would I rather look back on June and say, man, I really gave it a good shot. I did, you know, I did my LinkedIn, you know, daily thing, and I updated my resume, and I did this, and I made all these calls, and not have anything, and potentially not having anything to show for it? Or would I rather say I spent 2 weeks driving across the country with my daughter, hung out with her, did this thing, built a playhouse in Oklahoma, you know, plowed the back feet and did all this work for my mother and did all this, and may or may not have anything to show for it. You know what I mean? There's the chances of having the tangible thing to show for it at the end of June or July or whatever about the same. So
All right.
we're leaving.
Hey, where in Oklahoma is your property?
Durant, so southern border,
Okay,
right in
I know where
Texoma.
Durant is. Yeah, okay.
And so we're gonna leave Friday after her school.
Okay.
So wheels off at 11 about noon.
Okay.
And that puts us in probably Boise or Twin Falls that night, and then Kansas somewhere, rolling into Durant Sunday.
I just also want to be clear. I think that's great that you're going to help your mom out. I'm not going to help you.
No,
at the ranch. Yeah, sorry.
What I am looking forward to is dropping a 4 tons of dirt in the front yard and renting a front loader and driving that shit to the backyard.
Oh yeah, I mean? Get a Bobcat. There's nothing more fun than a Bobcat.
Yeah, and just
fill that thing up.
Fill it up. Fill up the pool.
We do a show about Bobcats, man. Those are fun.
What is that? Not that, but what does it look like for you if you're in near Tucson, and then, I mean, is 8 hours the same as 10? I mean,
it doesn't matter to me. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was looking. I thought, oh, there's some interesting things to do, but not necessarily interesting places to ride, unless you go to Taos. Taos is probably a continuous, twisty road that's a good ride or whatever. But that's so far of a backtrack for you.
And the truth, that's way up there. I can't do
the truth is, somewhere near Durant is going to be fine. In my mind, I've driven through the bulk of Oklahoma before, just like on the back roads. I used to drive from Dallas to Oklahoma City all the time and take the weirdest routes I could find.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I brought my old car home, Oklahoma was one of the best drives.
Yeah.
Because people are just sort of, you just think it's going to be the winds come sweeping down the plain, but there's a lot of very little back county roads that go along, and that are just nice little sweepers. And we're just looking for little cafes to eat in. I'm not looking for a tourist destination or an epic ride at this point. Yeah, let's just ride the bikes for a couple days, have some fun, eat cheap food, and then leave it at that. So I don't mind. In my mind, I'm expecting to come to Durant, unless you find something that is, because in some ways, I'd rather stay in a nondescript little town that's not special, because I don't want to go stay in a resort side, lakeside place and pay $199 a night for the Hampton Inn. I want to pay $49 a night for the Westward Ho Motel and, eat at a cafe and then do a lot of eating at McDonald's to stretch the dollar. So,
yeah. Well, there's lots of, I love driving around Oklahoma, but anyway, but yeah, Ada, Tishomingo, all Ardmore, all those little towns around there. My family's is from there. Blue, Oklahoma. My granddad went to high school in Blue, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Anyway, point being, yeah, okay. If you're willing to go to Durant, great. Then we'll that'll be the worst case. In other words, that'll be the longest for you to drive. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Is like, and I got to have a conversation upstairs. Is
Yeah, are you gonna be married when you get back?
Well, that's the thing. It's like I want her to come with, and it's not. We're not like being. We're not arguing about it. It's what I. Like I'm having my own struggle about, is this the right thing to do? Is going to Oklahoma in the middle of a pandemic and basically a civil race war, is that the right thing to do? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think so, but it feels like it's the only thing I can do to take care of myself, take advantage of time that we have in this space that we have financially, professionally, and to focus on hanging out with my daughter, doing the things that I was going to go do during the summer anyway in Durant, and holding the head. That's what I want to do, and that's what I need to do. And I realize that I'm battling with that is a selfish thing, to be like, I need to go take care of myself, which it is not, I know, but it kind of is. And wife is more than happy to, or more than welcome, mm-hmm. But she didn't really want to be in Durant, Oklahoma. She's nervous about people not wearing masks at the grocery store, which, okay, but there's 1/100th of the population there.
Right.
There's 8 people in the grocery store.
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus the 85 that in the store that we go to twice a week. So it's like
just like where we're from right now, we've had 17 people get it in our county.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm just thinking, well, let's just shoot them. And that way, there's no way. I mean, that's not that much of a price to pay for the whole county. It's only 17. If we had 170,000, I think, well, that'd be a travesty.
Yeah.
But 17, let's just
call
it's
it
nothing. Or people talk about, are you going to be okay social distancing? We live in the land of social distancing here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of America that doesn't have any problem with this, not being in town every day and not being around. It's just not a problem for a lot of America. It's a problem when you're in a really dense area. I get that. Oklahoma and where I'm from in Arizona, not dense.
Yeah. So point is that like I have my own internal thing, whether or not it's the right thing to do, and then she has her own hesitancy, and and I don't have an answer to make myself feel better about it, let alone have one to make her feel better about it. You know what I mean?
I've only been married a little bit longer than you. And so, but I don't know if you want to take this as a, again, I'm usually not an example that anybody else should follow. But one of my best answers ever was, well, why are you doing this? I go, I don't know why. I don't need to know why, but you just need to know I'm doing it.
How many times did you practice that before you pulled it out?
No, it just comes out. And, try not to be an asshole about it, but that's just the way it is. You know why? Because the magical ways of a man are mysterious and they don't have to be understood. And you just got to do it because that's what's in your gullet, man.
It's like, it's teed up.
There's no splaining it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's teed up. I'm going to take a swing. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a terrible thing to do. It's like, most of the things that I do in life, I have to balance with or measure against, would I rather regret doing it or regret not doing it? And it's a coin toss on this one, because if I were to regret going, that means I either killed somebody or, caught a pandemic and then got my mom sick and my grandparents died. Like I would regret going.
Oh yeah. I can
if
see
that were the case.
Yeah.
So, but the odds of that are relatively slim.
Right.
But, so would I rather regret not going? Well, the regret not going looks like I stay here and mope about a job and suck up unemployment. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Where's the big ad?
Yeah.
Where's the value add by staying home? The other feature too is that, it's always, you got to consider what you're going to spend, right? You're going to be down $1,500 or whatever by the time you're done driving out there, doing stuff and driving home by the time you're done. Right. But you have to understand $1,500 is 2 handbags for your wife. All right. It just, no matter what you do with the $1,500, even if it's life-saving medicine for a week, well, at the end of that week, you're still screwed.
Up. Yeah.
All right. So the $1,500 doesn't have a chance of changing anything in the regular matrix, but it has a chance of changing everything on your way to Oklahoma when you watch the sunrise and you feel free.
Yeah.
It has a chance. There's just a chance.
Yep.
I got the tags for the Marini today.
How'd that go?
It was touch and go. Well, I kind of got raped at the DMV here. Usually this is a pretty reasonable place for the DMV. Mm-hmm. But one, I wanted the tags today, so I decided to put up 0 objections. But they were trying to determine what was its value when new.
Oh boy!
And so they're looking it up, and they don't list anything prior to 77, and this is a 76. And I tried to explain to them. I said, "Well, it's a 76. That means in 77 the figure you have is higher, right?" Yeah. She goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'll take it. I don't care. It's incrementally higher. Can we just use the 1977?"
This is figure? Me being reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
She says, "No, we can't. We have to find a 1976 figure." So I'm sitting there on my phone, Google searching, right? Trying to figure out how can I find the price of that Marini new. So I remember I read that in some articles or whatever. Well, then I found out that it sold for 850 pounds in Europe. So I'm thinking, well, what was the historical exchange for pound to dollar in 1976, Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to look it up. And then she shows me a picture. She goes, "Is this it?" And she shows me a picture of a Sport. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to tell her the difference between the Sport and the Strata. There's just no way I'm going to get into that. All right. It's going to end up slowing this process down. So I said, "That's it." And she looked at it and she saw an auction price for it. And she said, "Well, that's the value then." So she put the current auction price in
Which
for
is
like
what,
$7,800.
Yeah.
You know,
Wait,
and so
how much?
$7,800.
Oh shit.
Anyway, so
Okay.
so then my fee, which should have been like $19 here, I had to pay $86 today.
You're fine.
Yeah.
That sucks,
Well, anyway,
but proportionally,
the whole
you're
point.
fine.
Yeah. In subsequent years, I'll get historic plates for it. I'll get this back from the state of Arizona. Don't worry. But anyway, today I did walk out of there with tags, a temporary license plate, registration in my name, and it is legal for me to ride it.
That's awesome.
So
speaking of, I got to do that before next week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up $120. That's just registration and plates.
No, that's yeah. In California, the minimum was $180 a year from no matter what you brought in.
And then if you were late, you get a fee for being late.
Yeah, it was so anyway. So yeah, I don't have anything really to complain about, but I was so used to getting it so cheap, you know. So what I have to do left now is I do have to get it insured. So I'll get some insurance on it. And then I did order my ignition parts, but I'm certain they're not gonna be here by the time that we go. So
okay,
we're just gonna have to ride around on the original stuff. So you didn't take any of it off, did you?
I didn't touch it. I only took that case, the cover off to show you the red pickups. Didn't touch it.
All right.
Yeah, so I've got to do that on mine. And then on that note, so given, I think I told you about the spreadsheet where I had to sort of track all my bikes and where they were and sort of get all my shit together around that. So I'm trying to get everything owned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of things
instead of in limbo.
Yeah, just like I possess them doesn't mean I own them necessarily. So like I have basically all my both my little Ducati, all three of my little Ducatis, the Guzzi's, all the little things that may or may not have had a title when they were new. Certainly the Bultaco didn't have a title.
Right.
I've got to get those titled and in my name. So in order to do that, one or two is no big deal. It's similar in California where you had to go get the form from the DMV, go to the highway patrol, they check, run it through the system, it's not stolen,
right,
stamp, take it back to the DMV, and they do their thing. But here in Washington, once you do that, you have a 3-year window.
Yes.
So I had to wait 3 years. I'm almost ready to own my Ambassador, my Moto Guzzi Ambassador.
Yeah.
Like it's almost mine. You know what I mean?
Unless somebody else claims it.
Unless somebody claims it in the next 20 days. But I haven't even started that process.
You know what?
No.
Wouldn't it be funny if I just did that just for fun?
Yeah. By the way, this bike was stolen from me.
What's the VIN on that one?
No.
Yeah.
And then, so I was trying to like scam the system. Like, okay, what if I get my mom or my uncle to sell me just a lot of bikes for $200 each? Like, that's not suspicious. And so I think I'm going to try and do that Vermont title thing. Or at least get them titled through Vermont. And
then transfer them whenever you need to.
Yeah, if I need to. So I'm about to go on to that journey. But again, I can't wait to like have the space to, and that's part of what next week is. I'm going to work on getting a title for a Ducati Monza. And then I'm going to get tired of doing that. And I'm going to walk outside into the sunny backyard with my toes in the grass. You know what I mean? Like I can't do that. And I think that was like, it's something to be said about, and maybe you're doing it already, but like there's something to be said about when I was a kid and you could go somewhere that was outdoors and you didn't have to worry about anything. And you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just that space of being in.
No, I have a thing that I especially, it's the first time I've owned property in my life, so it's a big deal to me. It's not a big deal to people who've had property, it's, and I don't have a lot, but the point is right now I have enough that every day I walk out there. And if I have to pee and I have my shoes on, I have no intention of peeing inside. I walk outside, I find some place to pee and I just hang my little wiener out and I just drain it and I look at the sun, look at whatever I want to look at. And I pee, sometimes in the same place, sometimes not, but I just figure, I don't need to, I don't have to flush that down. I don't have to have that process and I don't have to do anything with that. I just put it right back in the earth.
Yeah.
And I love that. I just love that.
Yeah. So point is I'm going to focus on all of that.
Okay, about registering things too. Do you have this thought? Is that I feel like it seems to me, since you can only ride one at a time, you ought to be able to have one plate for everything, and it just ought to transfer between whatever it is you're riding. That's the way it should be. This is unfair.
Yeah.
So what I do is that I have 2 Hondas. I'm only registering one of those, and then I'm plate sharing with the other Honda, right? And I'm just hoping that the guy doesn't. I mean, like, when's the last time you got pulled over? They looked at your VIN number.
Yeah.
Usually they just look at the thing. If the sticker's right, your name's right, you're okay. So I'm sort of banking on that. So I have 2 Hondas. I'm getting one plate. I have 2 BMWs, one plate. I have 3 Ducatis, one plate. But that's the only problem with the Marini, is that now I got a new brand.
You have to get it.
And it doesn't look like any of the other ones.
Yeah.
So
I think same conversation with myself. Yes.
I think all you really have to do is register one of each brand. And then I think you have to leave it up to law enforcement to figure out if you're trying to screw them.
Yeah. And if they get you, that's the price you pay.
Yeah. Then you go to jail. Take the time. Right. But when they don't get you, you should be trying to get away with that.
Yeah. So I try to do everything on the up and up. Like, and this is fucked me, because I go in there and be like, hey, I'm not going to commit. I'm not trying to get one over. This is my situation. I bought this motorcycle. It's been in a garage for, a barn for 20 years. The guy died and is, whatever. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to prove that I own this. Here's all the information. And because I said a particular preposition in my
one of the wrong things, you're going to get a signature from somebody you don't even know.
This. Oh, you need a notarized bill of sale. Oh, he has blonde hair. You're gonna need to get this taken to. I'm like, God damn it! Like, why is it so fucking difficult to just do some common sense shit here? When
I know it.
When the thing you're trying to avoid by making all this extraneous shit is you're trying to avoid the assholes coming in here doing the thing that I'm trying to not do.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's, I'll tell you this, as goofed up as California is in so many ways, in recent years, they have a thing called a low value transfer. That means if it's less than, I think, $3,500 or $4,000, they're thinking, listen, we got all these people that find these things in fields, that putting parts together from 3 to make 1, and the state, and because they're impossible to trace, nobody registers them, or they ride them illegally, or they drive them illegally just by plate sharing, right? Yep. And they finally figured it out. And they said, okay, here's the deal. If you have a low value transfer with no documentation, but if it's an old low value deal below $4,000, now you just tell them, I need to can I do the low value transfer deal? You have to ask them that.
It's not on the menu. It's off menu.
It's off. Yeah. But anyway, and then all you do is you get out a statement of facts and you say, I found this in the field, or I bought this from my friend Andy and kept it in his shed until yesterday. Sincerely, Blaine. And you give it back to them, and they charge you $180 and they give you a tag for it, as long as it's not stolen.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of collecting DMV fees. It's just an elaborate tax, right? And that's all it is. And it doesn't really pay for anything other than the DMV. So you would think at some point that the answer to every question to DMV is, yes, Mr. Taylor, we can register that, but it costs an extra fee.
Yeah.
That should be their answer in every case.
It's going to cost you $50. Yeah.
Yeah. In every case, consumers would go, okay.
Yeah.
But to tell you, you're going to have to get the signature and a statement of facts. We're going to have a weight slip. We're going to have a VIN verification. And you realize, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to cut this up. You're going to cut it up and sell it as, something else. You're going to start cheating and putting another title on it. I'm just going to buy another VIN off of eBay with a title. The bureaucracy can force a person into that. Now, let me just say this. None of that I've actually done. That's just a fantasy that I have. Too late.
Published.
It's just a fantasy that I have. I'm just saying that because I've been drinking all afternoon here, and not driving anywhere. But so anyway, we have a new cat.
You have a new cat?
Yeah.
On purpose, or did it just show up?
My daughter wanted a new cat, so she got a new cat.
Oh, that's nice.
It's adorable.
How old is your daughter that wanted it?
23. She's a grown woman.
So is she planning on moving out anytime soon?
Probably not.
Because, the lifespan of a cat
I know.
may or may not exceed the amount of time that she's got left in the house.
It's going to exceed my lifetime. She's going to inherit this house and the cat.
God damn it. I did that to my mom. I wanted like 4 cats. And then I was like, all right, Peace.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vermont, you've not done.
I've not done, but I've heard it's fairly straightforward, and I've also heard that it can be done in Montana with the PO box.
That's right. So right now in Vermont, there's under 500 cc is streamlined, and then now because of COVID, they're not requiring a VIN verification.
Oh yeah, you just pay the fees, and I think you just send in a bill of sale, right, or some documentation that says I bought this, I paid this much for it, and you have the fee, and you get Vermont plates in the mail. Sure.
Well, everything that I'm trying to get plated is like 64 and prior.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah, there's not even enough VIN numbers to work at the DMV.
No,
you give them all the VIN numbers, and they keep going, yeah, where's the next set? You go, that's all there is.
And then there's only 5 digits. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have the Bull Taco. I was trying to figure out what the code meant, what actual model I had. And, you click depending on what table you look at. I did finally nail down that it's a 350 Alpina, but there's only 5 digits in the VIN. So on the Bull Taco engine and the frame, there's a M, so VM, and then your number, and then the frame is VB, then your number. Okay. So I'm in the forum, just saying, hey, trying to figure out my model number. I know it's a 166, but it says it's a 6 digit, so maybe it's a 16. I couldn't tell if it's a 16 or a 166, depending on the format of the VIN. And also, what's the VB and the VM, because they're different on the frame and the engine. I thought maybe I have some weird outlier. And the guy came back and he's like, no, it's VM equals motori, which is Spanish for motor. Okay. And the VB is it's Bastardus or Bastare or something like that. I'm going to try and find it. Bastardus. Let me find it.
Oh, that's a great word.
Bastidor.
Bastidor. That's a great name. I want that on a T-shirt. What's it mean?
El Bastidor is the frame.
It sounds meaner than it is, actually.
Yeah, I love that. Spanish. So there you go. All right, so that's then. We're gonna go to Oklahoma.
Who knew that the pinnacle place to ride vintage Marinis is Durant, Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's Durant, by the way. You will get. Yeah. That's the and growing up, that was the thing where you can tell who's from Durant by saying, if you say Durant, then you're probably up here from Texas.
I see. Yeah.
Durant, then.
Yeah. How far is Durant from Tulsa?
Quite a ways. So Oklahoma City is 3 hours, 2.5, and then Tulsa is about 45 minutes north of that.
If there's an interesting road along the river or something, then that would be a fine way to go.
Yeah, we can go up through Tecumseh. Yeah, there's lots of stuff to do. Oklahoma is kind of a rider state, so like there's
a lot better roads in Oklahoma than you think.
Yeah, and so I found an interactive map at one point, I just remembered, of all these routes that guys have plugged in. They take their Harleys with their wives on the back and they go with their dog. But all these roads and rides that are just off the grid, pleasant, off highway roads. Well, all right. So we'll update as events unfold.
Okay. All right. We're going to Durant.
Yeah, Durant. Oh, and there's a cookie factory. I want to see if it's still open.
All right.
You didn't think this podcast was just about stupid motorcycles, did you? I know I'm not unique in this. Millions of people lost their jobs this year. I also know that we are super fortunate to be in the position that we are, given the extreme suck that 2020 has rendered. And to even be considering driving across the country in a pandemic or buying a motorcycle at all right now is a completely privileged position. But that's sort of the point. With all this fortune, spending one more day angry and frustrated at what I didn't have going for me seemed insane. I could either sit at home and make everyone miserable, or I can venture forth and maybe be of service. And if you know how a trip is going to turn out, it's not really an adventure, is it? So this conversation has indeed led to an adventure. In the next episode, I'll return to the narrative format and deliver the story of my adventure across the country to deliver a moto marine to my friend and revisit some memories in the form of good, honest work. All while keeping anxiety, contagion, and a 5-year-old in check. So look for the next episode titled Everything is Okay. And thank you for listening to the Hole in the Head Moto Storytime podcast. We'll see you then. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Hole in the Head Moto. Do drop a line. Better yet, subscribe, leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It is really helpful. I appreciate it.